Good morning, dear friend. As the first light of morning begins to stretch across the horizon and the shadows of night slowly retreat, I welcome you into this sacred moment. Dawn is unlike any other time of the day. The air is still. The world has not yet found its noise, and the heart feels closest to eternity. In these early hours, the soul is tender, the mind is open, and heaven seems nearer than ever. This is why generations of believers have risen before the sun, not to chase tasks or ambitions, but to seek the face of God when the veil between earth and heaven feels thin. Perhaps you are listening today because sleep has escaped you. Perhaps the weight of yesterday has pressed so heavily that you woke long before your alarm. Or maybe the silence of the early morning felt unbearable, and you searched for words of comfort. You are not alone in this. I once met a woman who carried a secret battle no one around her could see. Each morning she would put on a smile, prepare her children for school, and head into work as if nothing was wrong. Yet behind closed doors, she was drowning in grief after losing her husband unexpectedly. Nights became her enemy because darkness magnified her fears. Mornings were worse because they reminded her that nothing had changed. But something shifted when she began to rise before dawn, not to escape her pain, but to bring it into God's presence. Slowly, the silence that once tormented her became the space where healing began. The same hours that had magnified her sorrow became the hours where her heart learned to breathe again. Maybe your story is different, but the H is familiar. It could be the fear of an uncertain future, the loss of someone dear, the relentless burden of debt, or a mind weighed down by anxiety. Pain wears many faces, but it always tries to whisper the same lie, that you are alone and unheard. Yet the truth is that the God who shaped the stars bends down to hear even the faintest cry. Scripture tells us that the righteous cry out, the Lord hears them, and He delivers them from all their troubles. This promise was not written for people who have it all together. It was written for people like you and me, people who stumble into the morning with trembling hands, yet dare to lift their eyes toward heaven. This is why prayer is not just ritual. It is not a duty to check off before the day begins. Prayer is the lifeline that pulls us out of despair into hope. It is the bridge between human weakness and divine strength. When we pray, we are not speaking into empty air. We are stepping into a conversation with the One who already knows our wounds and yet still invites us closer. Prayer is the turning point where chains can break, burdens can lift, and the heart can rediscover joy. The journey you are about to begin is not a short moment of inspiration, but a pilgrimage across 24 chapters of prayer. Each chapter will carry you deeper, leading from the first cries of desperation to the steady rhythm of faith, from the silence that feels unbearable to the song that never ceases, from personal struggle to the blessing of future generations. This journey mirrors life itself, moments of despair, moments of surrender, moments of joy, and moments of unshakable confidence. As you step into this time, I want you to know that your voice matters. You may think your words are weak, but heaven measures them not by volume, but by sincerity. You may feel your faith is too small, yet even faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. You may fear that your tears are signs of defeat, but in God's presence they are treasures collected and remembered. every sigh, every whisper, every longing counts in this dialogue with your Creator. So I invite you now, open the doors of your heart. Lay down the weight of yesterday and the worries of tomorrow. Do not rush. Breathe in the stillness of this dawn. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, because vulnerability is the language of prayer. You do not need perfect words. You only need an honest heart. Together, we will walk through these 24 chapters, each crafted to guide you from brokenness into breakthrough, from fear into faith, from silence into the roar of victory. Let this morning be more than another sunrise. Let it be the beginning of your awakening. The hours between night and day are not wasted. They are holy ground. And as you stand on this holy ground, may you find courage to cry out, faith to believe, and strength to keep moving forward. Prayer is waiting. God is listening. And the story of your breakthrough is about to be written. Dear Heavenly Father, I wake in the quiet of this early morning with a heart that feels heavy, yet it beats with a faint hope that you are near. The world around me is still, but inside I sense a storm that has not yet settled. My body rises from restless sleep, and my thoughts carry the weight of yesterday, the shadows of regrets, and the tremors of fears about tomorrow. In these hours when the silence feels endless, I reach for you because I know there is no other place where my soul can breathe. I confess that many mornings I open my eyes and feel only numbness. It is as if life has pressed so hard against me that my heart has forgotten how to feel. There are days when I go through motions without truly living. Days when even prayer feels like an echo returning without response. Yet this morning I choose to believe that even in numbness, you are present. You are closer than the thoughts that trouble me, nearer than the worries that cling to my chest. I remember the promise that the righteous cry out, and you hear them, and you deliver them from all their troubles. I hold on to this truth not because I feel strong, but because I feel weak. Weakness is the very reason I call to you now. You are the God who listens, the God who bends down to hear even the whisper of a trembling voice. So I let my first words of the day be for you alone. In this stillness, I bring to you the heaviness I cannot name. I bring the ache that lives behind my smile, the fear that hides behind my plans, and the sorrow that visits me in the night. I bring the exhaustion that makes me want to give up, and the longing that keeps me from doing so. I cannot carry these things alone, and I do not want to anymore. I set them here before you, fragile offerings from a fragile heart. There is a strange comfort in knowing that you understand the language of tears, the meaning of silence, the weight of sighs. What I cannot explain, you already know. What I cannot bear, you are already carrying. In this moment, I choose not to pretend. I choose not to cover my wounds with hurried words or mask my fatigue with shallow gratitude. I come as I am, raw and unguarded, hoping that you will meet me in this vulnerable space. Father, in this quiet, I ask you to awaken me from more than sleep. Awaken me from despair that dulls my spirit, from fear that chains my steps, from the numbness that robs me of joy. Open my eyes to see that the dawn itself is a reminder of your mercy, that the sun still rises even after the longest night. Let this morning be the beginning of a new rhythm, not one of rushing and striving, but of breathing deeply in your presence. I imagine my prayers like incense rising into your courts. They are not grand or eloquent, but they are sincere. Let them drift upward and remind me that my voice matters to you. Let them break through the silence that often convinces me you are far away. Let them be proof that my life is not forgotten, my steps are not unseen, and my tears are not wasted. Father, in this hour I ask not for quick solutions, but for your nearness. Let me sense the comfort of your hand steadying me. Let me feel the warmth of your presence cutting through the chill of fear. Let me trust that even when answers do not come swiftly, your love does not waver. Teach my heart to lean on you before I lean on myself, to seek your whisper before I chase the noise of the world. I long for the courage to believe that my story is still unfolding in your hands, that what feels like the end may be the place where you begin something new. Give me patience when my faith feels thin, endurance when my strength runs dry, and vision to see past the fog of today into the brightness of your promises. Dear Heavenly Father, as the first rays of dawn reach through the window, I want them to reach my soul as well. I want light to seep into the corners of my thoughts, into the hidden rooms of my heart where shadows have lingered too long. I want to notice your presence in the smallest details, in the breath I take, in the quiet around me, in the certainty that I am not abandoned. So I rise, even with trembling knees. I rise with a heart that is learning to hope again. I rise with a voice that may crack but still chooses to call out. I rise because the promise stands. When I cry out, you hear me. And though my feelings may falter, your faithfulness never will. Father, the first light from chapter 1 has only just begun to touch my soul, and yet I still feel how quickly shadows return when I pause too long. The stillness remains, but within it, I sense another call. It is not enough only to notice you in this dawn. Now you invite me to cry out in the depths of my heart, to lift my voice with more than quiet longing. Father, this cry is not polished or rehearsed. It is not gentle or measured. It rises raw from within me, born from the places I usually try to hide. I admit that silence can feel safer than honesty. Sometimes I withhold my words because I fear they may sound too desperate, too broken, or too small. Yet you are not offended by desperation. You are not distant from brokenness. You do not turn away from weakness. You lean closer to it. And so I let go of my hesitation and I pour myself out here, in this fragile moment, as the early morning sky carries both lingering darkness and the slow promise of light. I cry because fear has shaped too much of my journey. I cry because pain has settled in corners I cannot reach on my own. I cry because I am tired of pretending that I am stronger than I am. Father, you have always known the depths of my struggle, yet you wait for me to open my mouth and release it. My cry does not surprise you, but it welcomes your power into places I have kept closed. I surrender the walls I have built. They were meant to protect me, but they have only isolated me. They were meant to keep harm away, but they have kept healing away as well. Father, I lower my defenses now. I bring down the barriers I have carefully raised against disappointment, against failure, against rejection. My surrender is not elegant, but it is real. I fall into your mercy, trusting that your arms will hold what my strength cannot. This cry is not the sound of defeat. It is the sound of release. It is the sound of a heart no longer willing to carry burdens alone. It is the sound of trust breaking through fear. I have learned that surrender is not losing, but gaining the presence of the one who can carry what I never could. Father, my cry in the darkness is not about volume. It is about truth. Every whispered confession, every shouted plea, every tear shed is a seed of trust that you will not abandon me. You have promised that in this world I will face trouble, but you have also spoken that you have overcome the world. This promise becomes the ground beneath my cry. I no longer ask whether I am strong enough to endure, for I know I am not. Instead, I declare that your strength will carry me where mine fails. My cry is a bridge from my weakness to your victory. As the room around me remains dim, I think of those who have cried in the night before me, prophets who felt abandoned yet chose to lift their voices, kings who faced enemies yet knelt to seek you, sons and daughters who poured out their grief only to be met with comfort. Their cries were not wasted, and mine will not be either. For you are the same Father who heard them, and you hear me now. Father, I surrender my need for control. I surrender my desire to understand every detail. I surrender my urge to predict outcomes and secure guarantees. Control has promised me safety, but only left me anxious. Understanding has promised me peace, but only left me restless. You invite me to a different path, one where trust outweighs certainty, one where surrender carries me further than striving. So I cry out, not with explanations, but with expectation. I cry out, not because I have answers, but because I know you are the answer. I cry out with the boldness of one who has nothing left to lose, yet everything to gain in your presence. Let this cry rise like a song of surrender, breaking the silence that once held me captive. Father, hear the trembling in my voice and let it become strength. Hear the ache in my soul and let it become healing. Hear the emptiness in my hands and let them be filled with your peace. Hear the surrender in my words and let it become a doorway for your spirit to move. As the minutes pass and the morning stretches further into light, I feel the shift within me. The cry that began as weakness begins to sound like courage. The surrender that felt like collapse begins to feel like freedom. This darkness no longer owns me, for my voice has broken its hold. My cry belongs to you now, Father, and in your hands it becomes more than sound. It becomes life. It becomes strength. It becomes hope. Father, as the echoes of my surrender still linger in the quiet, I find myself drawn to look back. The cry that rose from me in the darkness has opened something deeper, a space where memory and faith begin to meet. Father, you have heard my voice, and in this stillness, you now gently remind me of the times you have heard me before. You call me not just to cry out, but to remember that you have always been with me, even when I could not feel you. To remember that I have not walked alone. It is easy to forget, especially when the weight of now presses so heavily. But when I pause and look back, I begin to see the fingerprints of your grace, scattered through every season I thought I would not survive. I remember nights when fear kept me awake, and somehow peace arrived like an uninvited guest. I remember days when hope felt out of reach, but a word, a song, or a simple kindness shifted everything. I remember prayers I whispered without strength, and months later, found answers I did not know were already in motion. Father, your faithfulness has never depended on my awareness of it. While I questioned, you moved. While I doubted, you remained steady. While I wandered, you kept your eyes on me. Even when I called it coincidence, it was your mercy. Even when I thought it was my own strength, it was your hand upholding me. I see it now, the doors that opened just in time, the closed paths that would have led me to harm, the comfort that reached me when I could not reach for you. I remember the stories I once read and believed, from afar the parting of seas, the falling of walls, the raising of the dead. They seemed distant, ancient, like echoes of someone else's faith. But the more I walk with you, the more I see those stories have always been invitations, not to envy, but to believe again, not to compare, but to expect. You are still the same. You have not changed. The one who fed the hungry with broken bread, who calmed the sea with a single word, who wept with the grieving, you are still that God. Right here, right now. Father, help me to remember not only the great rescues, but the quiet ones, the mornings when I woke without anxiety after nights of torment, the times when forgiveness found its way into my hardened heart, the moments when strength came unexpectedly, just enough to keep going. These memories are not small. They are sacred. They are the stones of remembrance I lay down as proof that you are faithful. And when my mind tries to minimize these moments, when the present pressure makes the past look blurry, bring them back with clarity. Let gratitude become the lens through which I view my life. Let remembering become the foundation under my feet, because when I remember, my fear begins to loosen. When I remember, my faith begins to rise. When I remember, I know that the same God who carried me here will not leave me now. I choose to speak these things aloud, not because you have forgotten, but because I have. I choose to declare your goodness in the quiet, to stir my soul into belief again. Let this become a rhythm in my life, not just to cry out in need, but to rehearse your goodness, to rehearse your nearness, to speak of your mercy until my heart aligns with truth. You have always been the lifter of my head. You have always been the strength in my weakness. You have always been the one who saw the broken pieces and loved me still. And if I am standing here today, it is because you did not let me fall beyond recovery. Father, I thank you not only for what you did, but for how gently you did it, for the way you never forced, never shamed, never rushed. You waited until I was ready. You came when I called. You stayed when I strayed. And even when I was silent, you never stopped moving. Now I ask you to bring back what I have lost along the way. Bring back the memories that remind me of your voice. Bring back the testimonies I buried under disappointment. Bring back the awe I once felt when I believed anything was possible with you. Let those memories become alive again, not just for comfort, but as fuel. Let them wake up what has grown tired. Let them light a fire in the places that have gone cold. Father, even in my most fragile seasons, you never failed me. I may have forgotten the details, but you remember every sigh, every tear, every time I whispered your name in the dark. And now, I collect these memories like treasures, not just stories of the past, but anchors for the future. So today, I do not only bring you my needs, I bring you my gratitude. I bring you a heart that remembers what you have done and trusts in what you are still doing. Let the weight of remembrance outweigh the weight of fear. Let the story of your faithfulness become louder than the voice of doubt. Let the history between us become the soil where new hope grows. Heavenly Father, as I sit in the warmth of remembered faithfulness, I find myself breathing a little deeper. The H is still there, but it feels softer now, covered gently by the quiet confidence that you have never let me go. And in this softened place, something new begins to stir. It is not loud. It does not shout. It does not force its way into my mind. But it is there subtle, steady, unmistakable. It is the whisper of your spirit. Father, your spirit has always been with me, yet I confess I have often moved too fast to notice. I have filled my mornings with noise, my thoughts with worry, my heart with to-do lists. But right now, in this sacred pause between past memories and present surrender, I feel the invitation to listen, not just with my ears, but with the deepest part of me. You are not far away. You are here, and your spirit, gentle as breath, begins to speak. Holy Spirit, I welcome you. I do not need thunder or fire, shaking ground, to know that you are real. I need only this moment of stillness to sense that you are present. Come and fill this space. Fill every corner of my being, not just to comfort but to lead. Whisper to me in a way that only my soul can hear. Break through the noise I have allowed to take your place. Let your voice become the one I recognize first. Father, thank you for sending the Spirit not as a visitor, but as a companion. Not as a fleeting presence, but as a dwelling force. Your word says the Spirit is my helper, my comforter, my advocate. So I turn toward you now, not to perform, not to impress, but to be guided. Let your Spirit speak what I need to hear today, not what I want, not what I expect, but what my soul cannot live without. I do not want to walk into this day with my own strength. I do not want to guess my way through decisions, conversations, or battles. I want to be led. I want your whisper to become my compass. I want your presence to become my pace. Speak softly, Spirit of God, and let my heart lean in. Sometimes I expect your guidance to arrive like a windstorm, but now I see that your power is in peace. It is in the way you steady me when everything shakes. It is in the way you redirect me when I wander without knowing it. It is in the way you bring clarity when confusion tries to settle in. Even in silence, you are not absent. Even when I hear nothing, you are still at work within me. Spirit, if I have quenched your voice with doubt, or drowned it with distractions, Forgive me. I am here now, quieted, ready, and willing to follow. You know what I cannot see. You know the traps before me, the burdens behind me, the questions within me. You know the places that are still waiting for healing, still longing for direction, still aching for peace. Breathe into those places, not with answers alone, but with presence. Let your nearness be the answer that calms every question. Father, I want this day to begin with alignment, not ambition, not with a plan drawn by my own hand, but with footsteps ordered by your Spirit. Let your whisper change my thoughts. Let it shape my responses. Let it go ahead of every encounter and prepare the atmosphere. Where I would normally rely on instinct or memory, teach me to pause and ask what your Spirit is saying. Let that become my rhythm, slow enough to notice, still enough to obey. I have seen what I can build on my own, and I know how quickly it crumbles. But what you build through your Spirit lasts. So let today be built not by effort, but by dependence, not by striving, but by listening. Whisper purpose into my moments. Whisper courage into my fear. Whisper gentleness into my frustration. Whisper conviction into my compromise. Whisper vision into the fog that sometimes clouds my faith. Holy Spirit, awaken me not just from sleep, but from numbness. Stir up what has settled, reignite what has faded. Let me walk through this day as someone who knows they are not alone. Let every step feel lighter, not because the burden is gone, but because your presence carries it with me. Father, this whisper, it changes everything. It does not erase pain. It brings peace that cannot be shaken. It does not remove uncertainty, but it replaces fear with faith. Your Spirit brings what no other source can give. And in the moments when I forget to ask, remind me again. In the moments when I hesitate to trust, remind me again. In the moments when I resist your leading, draw me gently back with the same whisper that called me here this morning. Let this whisper grow louder as the day unfolds. Let it rise above distraction. Let it speak through the noise. Let it pull me closer every hour until your voice becomes the place I live, not just the place I visit. Let this be more than a morning prayer. Let it be the beginning of communion that continues without end. Father, as the whisper of your Spirit lingers in the quiet corners of my soul, I realize how easily I could stay here. In this stillness, in this gentle communion, I feel safe. But even as peace rests upon me, I know that this moment is not the end. It is the beginning. The day waits beyond these walls, and with it, the battle. I do not speak of swords or armies or noise, but of the quiet resistance I will face, the unseen struggle that meets me the moment I step forward. And so before I rise, I ask you to clothe me not with fear, not with worry, but with strength that flows from your Spirit and protection that comes from your hand. Father, you know the battles I must walk into today. Some are familiar and expected. Others may surprise me, but none of them surprise you. You see the whole field before I take my first step. You know the enemy's strategies and the moments I may falter. And yet you have already made provision for my defense. You do not send me into the day unarmed. You offer me a shield. Let me not take your protection lightly. Let me not forget that I walk through contested ground, where peace is threatened and hope is tested. Teach me how to be alert without becoming anxious. Help me recognize the difference between false alarms and true attacks. More than anything, remind me that I am never fighting alone. Clothe me today with truth, the kind that cannot be twisted or shaken. Fasten it tightly around my life, like a belt that holds everything together. Let truth anchor me when lies come cloaked in logic or charm. Let it remind me who I am and who I am not. I am not abandoned. I am not powerless. I am not defined by what I feel or what others say. I am defined by your word, and your word does not fail. Place over my heart the breastplate of righteousness. Not a righteousness I earn, but one I receive. Cover me in what Christ has already won. Let this covering guard the vulnerable places in me, the wounds I carry, the insecurities that whisper, the doubts that still find space to speak. Let this righteousness be a barrier that shame cannot penetrate and accusation cannot breach. Father, prepare my steps with the readiness that comes from peace. Let me not charge forward in panic or freeze in fear. Make my steps steady, grounded in the confidence that wherever I go, you go before me. Let your peace be the rhythm of my movement, the tone of my words, the calm in my responses. Even if chaos surrounds me, let peace lead. Raise over me the shield of faith, not a fragile belief, but a tested, tempered trust that knows you are greater than every attack. Let this faith absorb what was meant to wound. Let it extinguish what was sent to destroy. Let it remind me that fiery arrows may come, but they will not prevail. Let my faith not be a reaction, but a stance chosen, lifted, held high. Place on my head the helmet of salvation. Guard my mind. Father, guard it from the whisper that I am not enough, the echo of past mistakes, the weight of uncertain futures. Let this helmet protect my thoughts from spiraling. Let it hold firm the truth that I am yours, saved not by my effort but by your grace. Let every lie break against the assurance that you have already claimed me, and in my hand. Place the sword of the Spirit, your living word. Let it not be silent on my lips. Let it be ready when confusion comes. Let me speak what is written when I am tempted to speak what I fear. Your word is sharper than any fear, truer than any feeling, stronger than any force that rises against me. Father, I do not ask for an easier day. I ask for a shielded heart, protected mind, and a spirit prepared to stand. I do not need everything around me to be calm if everything within me is anchored in you. The world may shift, circumstances may press in, but if I walk dressed in what you provide, nothing can separate me from your covering. You are my defender. You are my shield. You are the one who fights for me when I am too weary to lift my arms. Remind me that sometimes victory looks like persistence. Sometimes it looks like standing still while the storm howls. Sometimes it looks like silence in the face of provocation. But always, it begins with the armor you provide and the Spirit who empowers. So as I prepare to step forward, I take hold of what is unseen. I wear what cannot be taken. I carry what the world cannot steal, not because I am fearless, but because I am covered. Not because I have figured it all out, because I trust the one who goes before me. I will not rely on reaction. I will respond with wisdom. I will not be shaken by shadows. I will walk in light. Let this armor be more than protection. Let it be presence. Let it be a reminder that I never face a single battle alone. Let it be the echo of your promise that you will never leave me. Let it be the evidence that I am chosen, equipped, and surrounded. I take this moment to breathe in your strength, to remember who I belong to lift my eyes and face the day not with dread, but with courage. Father, even as I stand clothed in the armor you have provided, I feel the weight of what still clings to me. The strength you give is real, the protection undeniable. And yet, beneath it all, I carry things that you never meant for me to keep. Burdens that dig into my soul, habits that refuse to break, fears that whisper when no one is near. Father, it is time I stop pretending that they are not there. It is time I name what binds me. You are not afraid of the truth. You are not intimidated by what I carry. You are not waiting for me to clean myself up before I come to you. You are the one who breaks chains, but you often wait for me to bring them into the light. So today, in this holy morning hour, I open the locked places within me. I lift the things I have hidden out of shame. I call out, one by one, the weights that have shaped how I walk and how I think. Father, I name the chain of fear. Not a fear that protects me, but one that paralyzes. The kind that keeps me from stepping into purpose. The kind that makes me shrink back when I should rise. The fear of failing. The fear of being seen. The fear of being hurt again. I hand it to you. Trembling, but willing. I name the chain of comparison, the quiet but constant voice that tells me I am not enough, that others are better, stronger, more capable. It makes me strive when I should rest. It makes me hide when I should shine. I no longer want to measure my worth by mirrors that lie. You did not create me to be someone else. You created me to reflect your image in the way only I can. I name the chain of resentment. It hides well. It wears justification like armor, but deep down, I know it poisons my joy. It hardens my heart and locks away compassion. I carry memories that still sting and words that echo longer than they should. Father, I do not want to be bound by what was done to me. I want to be free to forgive, free to let go, free to live unchained by the past. I name the chain of anxiety, the quiet pressure that builds in my chest when everything feels uncertain, the constant need to plan and control, the endless what-ifs that rob me of peace. You have offered me rest, but I have often chosen panic. You have spoken peace, but I have listened to worry. I lay this chain before you now, asking you to teach me a new rhythm. I name the chain of hidden shame, not the loud, obvious kind, but the subtle sense that I am somehow disqualified. That even though I believe in grace, I still carry pieces of guilt for what I did, for what I did not do, for what I should have known. You have called me clean, yet I still try to earn a place at your table. Father, let me believe that your love is deeper than my past and wider than my regrets. I name the chain of addiction, the quiet dependencies I have made into lifelines, the habits that numb instead of heal. The things I reach for when I should reach for you. Maybe no one sees them, but you do. And still, you do not reject me. You invite me to be honest. You invite me to be free. I name the chain of bitterness toward myself, the harsh words I speak in silence, the disappointment I carry when I fall short, the way I replay my failures more often than I recall your faithfulness. Father, help me to see myself through your eyes, not through the eyes of judgment, but through the eyes of mercy. I do not name these things to dwell on them. I name them to break their power. I bring them to you not because I know how to fix them, but because I believe you already have. When you went to the cross, you did not just carry sin, you carried the weight of everything that binds. And when you rose, those chains lost their authority. So I speak freedom into every place that has been tied down, not because I feel strong, but because I know the truth, and the truth sets me free. You have not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. You have not called me to live in hiding, but to walk in the light. You have not asked me to carry chains. You have asked me to lay them down. Father, let this moment be more than words. Let it be a shift, a turning point, a crack in the wall that lets the light pour in. Let these confessions become declarations. Let every name I have spoken lose its grip. Let your spirit sweep through the places where I once felt stuck and speak new identity, new purpose, new freedom. I choose no longer to identify with what binds me. I am not my fear. I am not my addiction. I am not my shame. I am not my failure. I am not my bitterness. I am not what happened to me. I am not what others have said. I am not what I believed in the dark. I am who you say I am, and your voice calls me free. So here, in this sacred silence, I release the chains. I refuse to carry them into another day. I loosen my grip and open my hands. I let the weight fall, and I trust that as they fall, your love remains strong, steady, unshaken. Enough. Father, as the chains fall and the silence settles, I find myself standing in a place I have rarely known, a place where freedom is not just an idea, but present reality. The weight that once held me has been loosened, and my soul begins to remember what it feels like to stand upright, not in shame, not in fear, but in authority. And even now, I feel something rising within me, not a whisper this time, but a cry that comes not from desperation, but from identity, a cry of authority. Father, I have spent so long believing that power belonged to someone else, that boldness was reserved for those who were braver, stronger, more worthy. I shrank myself to fit into spaces that made others comfortable. I silenced my voice when fear told me to stay small. But you did not design me to live in retreat. You formed me to walk with courage, to speak with conviction, to live from the truth of who I am in you. I no longer want to pray as someone begging for scraps. I want to pray as a child seated at the table. You have called me your own. You have adopted me. You have placed your spirit within me. That changes everything. I do not have to prove myself to gain access. I already have access. I do not have to earn your favor. I already have your name. You have covered me in grace and clothed me in purpose. So today, I raise my voice, not with arrogance, but with confidence, not because I am powerful on my own, but because I am joined to the one who holds all authority in heaven and on earth. You said that whatever I bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever I loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Those are not the words of a spectator. They are the declarations of someone entrusted to act on your behalf. I declare that fear will no longer govern my steps. I declare that lies will no longer dictate my identity. I declare that darkness has no place where your light has come. I speak to the things that once held me and remind them they no longer have legal ground. I speak to every stronghold in my mind and command it to bow to the truth of your word. I do not reason with oppression. I do not negotiate with shame. I drive them out in your name. Father, let this cry become my language. Let it be the sound that rises when I am tempted to cower. Let it be the voice I use when the enemy whispers that I am not enough. Let it be the roar that fills the spaces where silence once ruled. I cry not only for myself, but for the ground around me, for the atmosphere of my home, for the lives I am called to impact. I carry your spirit, and your spirit is not timid. Your spirit is not passive. Your spirit is power. You have said that life and death are in the power of the tongue. So I choose to speak life. I choose to bless what you are doing and curse what tries to oppose it. I choose to proclaim healing, not just hope for it. I choose to call out peace, not just pray it might come. I choose to speak your promises aloud until every fear must flee and every lie must fall. Father, this authority is not just for quiet rooms and morning hours. It is for the streets I walk, the people I meet, the problems I face. Let me carry it wherever I go, not as a weapon to harm, but as a banner of your love. Let those around me feel the weight of your presence when I speak, not because I am impressive, but because you are near. When discouragement tries to steal my voice, remind me of who I am. When shame tries to pull me backward, remind me of what you have already paid for. When the enemy tries to intimidate, remind me that he is already defeated. Let my heart be settled and my voice be sure, not shaken, not uncertain, not silenced. Father, I remember how Jesus spoke. He did not need to shout to command demons to flee. He did not need to explain when he calmed the storm. He simply spoke, and it was done. That same spirit lives in me, not to impress, but to impact, not to control, but to restore, not to boast, but to bless. Let me learn the sound of that voice. Let me speak not from emotion, but from alignment with your will. Let my authority be rooted in intimacy. Let it rise from the quiet mornings I spend with you, not from pride or performance. Let it be sharpened by your word, refined by your spirit, confirmed by your peace. Let it never become a tool of control, but always a channel of truth, a voice that speaks healing into chaos, a sound that stirs faith where fear once reigned. Today, I speak not from a place of striving, but from rest, not from panic, but from positioning. I am seated with Christ in heavenly places. I am not beneath, I am above. I do not crawl through life begging for scraps of grace. I walk as one who carries your presence. And where your presence is, nothing stays the same. Let this cry of authority not be loud for the sake of volume, but loud in its clarity. A clear, unwavering yes to your truth, and a resounding no to anything that stands against it. Let my life echo the sound of someone who knows they are loved, chosen, empowered, and sent. Father, as I speak with the authority you have entrusted to me, I feel something stirring deeper than confidence. It is not loud like a cry. It does not demand like a command. It is the slow, undeniable rising of something ancient and holy. A flicker, a heat, a hunger. Father, this is not about standing taller. It is about burning brighter, not to be seen, but to be consumed by something that cannot be quenched. The cry of authority has now become a longing for fire, a fire only you can give. You are the God who answers with fire, not fire that destroys, but fire that purifies. Not fire that burns for chaos, but fire that refines and awakens. You once sent fire from heaven to show your presence, to affirm your power, to claim your people. But today, I do not ask for fire to fall on a mountain. I ask for it to fall on my heart, on the altar within me where I lay all that I am. Father, I do not want a faith that flickers when pressure comes. I do not want a love that grows cold when the world grows loud. I want a flame that refuses to go out. I want a holy fire that makes compromise uncomfortable and makes apathy impossible. Let your presence not only visit me, let it take residence and ignite everything inside me that still sleeps. Burn away what no longer belongs. Burn away pride masked as self-sufficiency. Burn away fear disguised as caution. Burn away the layers of numbness that have dulled my hunger. I do not want to be lukewarm. I do not want to be safe. I want to be set apart, and fire is what sets things apart. Fire leaves no room for pretending. Fire reveals what is real. Let this fire not just cleanse, but awaken. Let it awaken passion where routine has crept in. Let it awaken vision where distraction has blurred the way. Let it awaken the parts of me that once believed boldly, hoped fiercely, and loved deeply. Parts I have buried, parts I have forgotten. Breathe on them until they catch again, until they rise again. I bring my heart like dry wood to the altar. I do not pretend it is whole. I do not pretend it is ready, but I bring it honestly. And you, Father, are not looking for perfect offerings. You are looking for willing ones. You are looking for what can burn, for what will yield, and I yield. I lay down comfort. I lay down control. I lay down distraction. I lay down whatever stands in the way of your flame. Let your fire make my prayers more than words. Let them become incense that reaches your throne. Let them carry weight, not because I have strength, but because your Spirit gives them power. Let your fire spread through every thought, every motive, every part of me that is still being shaped. Let it turn every ordinary moment into holy ground. This fire is not for show. It is not for applause. It is not for the platform. It is for the secret place. It is for the hidden places of the soul where only you can go, where wounds still bleed, where bitterness still hides, where dreams still sleep. Go there. Father, go where no one else is invited. And when you go, take fire with you. Consume what needs to die. Revive what needs to live. Purify what is impure. Kindle what has gone cold. I want nothing left untouched. Nothing left the same. Let my heart burn until my voice sounds different. Until my thoughts feel different. Until my life becomes a testimony not of discipline, but of encounter. Father, I know fire is not always gentle. It can feel like loss. It can feel like letting go. It can feel like surrender, but I trust your hands. I trust that what you burn, you restore. What you take, you replace. What you refine, you crown with glory. So I will not fear the flames. I will not run from the heat. I will stand and let your presence do what only it can do. Let this fire draw others near, not because of me, but because of you. Let those who are weary feel warmth when they step near my life. Let those who are cold remember that fire is still possible. Let those who have walked far off be reminded that embers still burn under the surface. Use me, Father, not as a torch that boasts, but as a candle that invites. Even now, I feel the stirring again. Not emotion, but movement. Not noise, but depth. Something is shifting. Something is catching. And I do not want to rush it. I do not want to explain it away. I want to sit in this moment until the flame takes root, until your fire becomes my rhythm, my voice, my breath. Let the altar of my heart never be empty. Let it never grow cold. Let it never forget what it was built for. You have given me much, but what I want most is more of you. Not more knowledge, not more opportunity. Just more of your presence alive in me, alive like fire. So take this offering again. Take the raw, unfinished parts of me and make them holy. Take the ashes and trade them for beauty. Take the quiet embers and breathe until they roar. I am not afraid to burn if it means I will glow with your glory. I am not afraid to change if it means I will carry your presence in deeper ways. Father, as the fire continues to burn gently on the altar of my heart, I feel another longing beginning to rise within me. It comes not as a roar, but as a quiet ache, not a cry of battle, but a whisper of need. Now that the fire has exposed what is wounded, I come to you with open hands, asking not just for passion, but for healing. Father, let your presence not only refine me, let it restore me. Let it meet the places that ache and flow into the spaces I have tried to forget. The altar has revealed what fire cannot finish alone. Some things are not burned away. They are soothed, washed, revived. I feel the cracks in my soul that no amount of effort has repaired. I feel the weariness in my body that no sleep has truly healed. I feel the weight in my chest that no words have lifted. And so I come now, not to perform, but to be made whole. Father, I need your healing. You are the God who heals, Not just the surface, not just the symptoms, but the roots. You go to the origin of pain and meet it with compassion. You see what doctors cannot detect, what friends cannot fix, what even I have learned to ignore. But you do not ignore what hurts. You do not overlook what is hidden. You move toward it with mercy. And right now, I need that mercy to flow like water. I bring before you the wounds I have tried to carry in silence, the grief that lingers long after the loss, the trauma that shaped how I walk through the world, the disappointment that numbed my joy, the betrayals that left more than memories. These are not just emotional injuries. They have shaped my soul. They have shaped how I love, how I trust, how I breathe. And only you can unshape what was never meant to stay. Let your healing come not as a flash, but as a stream. Let it move gently, deeply. Without force, let it soak into the soil of who I am and bring restoration to what has grown barren. Let it soften what has become hardened. Let it cleanse what shame has stained. Let it remind every part of me that I am not beyond repair. Father, I also lift to you the needs of my physical body. You created me. Every cell, every system, every breath. You knit me together and called it good. So I bring before you the aches I have learned to live with, the pain I have silenced, the weakness I have excused. You are not only a healer of hearts, you are a healer of flesh. Let your touch reach bones, nerves, muscles, blood. Let your life push back against every imbalance and disorder. Let your breath fill my lungs with new strength. And for the parts of me that no test can explain, the fatigue, the tension, the unrest, I ask for supernatural peace to enter, not just as a feeling, but as a reality. Let peace rest in my body like warmth. Let it steady my heartbeat and calm my nerves. Let it do what medicine cannot, what striving cannot, what logic cannot. You are not just able to heal, you are willing, and I choose to believe that truth, even when healing does not look the way I expect, even when the timeline stretches longer than I hoped, even when the answer seems delayed. You are still healer, and your presence is proof that healing has already begun. Let your healing reach my mind. Father, the cycles of overthinking, the patterns of worry, the shadows of fear. Break through the fog with your clarity. Silence the voices that replay regret and failure. Replace them with the sound of your truth. Let my mind be renewed, not by effort, but by your spirit. Let my thoughts come into alignment with your peace, and in places where my emotions feel like a storm rising too fast, falling too hard, be the stillness in the center. Teach me to feel without drowning, to grieve without becoming lost, to hope without fear of disappointment. Let my emotions no longer be enemies I manage, but messengers you meet with grace. Father, you have always been drawn to the broken. You sat with the wounded. You reached for the rejected. You touched the untouchable. And so I do not hide my scars. I place them before you, not as proof of failure, but as invitations for your love. Let these scars become places where your glory shines through. Let them tell the story of your gentleness. I ask not only for healing for myself, but for those I love, for those who suffer in silence, who smile in public and ache in private, for those battling sickness with quiet courage, for those overwhelmed by anxiety or darkness. Let healing move beyond this moment and touch the ones I carry in my heart. Let your streams reach their homes, their hospital rooms, their thoughts in the night. Where I cannot go, you already are. Let healing become more than a moment. Let it become a lifestyle, a rhythm of resting in your presence, trusting your process, believing your promises. Even on the days when I feel the pain again, remind me that healing is still happening, that wholeness is not far off, that I am not going backward, even when the road feels long. So here I am, Father, still, open, needing, expecting. Let your healing move like water over stone, slowly shaping, gently transforming, endlessly faithful. Let the streams never run dry. Father, even as my voice trembles from the echoes of all that I have remembered and released in the quiet of this morning, I come to you again, worn yet willing, fragile yet open. From the tender reflections of yesterday's mercy, my soul now longs not only for comfort, but for shelter. I yearn for a place to hide, not to escape life, but to face it from a place of safety. A sanctuary not made with human hands, but formed in the strength of your heart. And so, Father, my feet wander no longer in search of direction, but in search of refuge. The winds of uncertainty howl louder now. In the stillness of this hour, I can hear the distant storms of the world gathering. The burdens I carry are not just personal. They are soaked with the weight of a weary world, anxious with unknowns, aching for peace. I feel the sharpness of the arrows, some from others, some forged by my own hand, and I find myself looking for the walls that cannot be shaken, the gate that welcomes without judgment, the tower that holds me when I can no longer hold myself. Father, you are that fortress, not a cold structure of rules and distance, but a living refuge whose doors never close, whose arms do not tire. You do not require me to earn access to your protection. You offer it freely, as a gift, as an inheritance, as a birthright I never had to deserve. I step into that truth today. I whisper it beneath my breath. I am not alone. I am not unguarded. I am not defenseless. I do not face today unshielded. I have a refuge, and that refuge is you. The world may offer temporary shelters, habits, distractions, the illusion of control, but they always crumble. They offer comfort without healing, distraction without peace. But you, Father, are the rock that does not shift. You do not shelter me by keeping the storms away. You shelter me by staying with me through them. You are the steady presence in a shaking world, the unbreakable promise in a season of questions. In your refuge, I am not made smaller but stronger. It is not a hiding that weakens me, it is a hiding that restores me. Within your presence, my spirit breathes again. The walls of fear fall away in the nearness of your love. I do not have to perform here. I do not have to explain myself. I can simply be broken, real, honest, and still be held. This is not a temporary visit. It is a returning to where I always belonged. Sometimes, I forget that this refuge is always available. I run to noise when I need quiet. I run to people when I need presence. I run to distractions when I need direction. But today, I remember. I return. I surrender again, not to defeat, but to the shelter that heals. I do not want to be strong apart from you. I want to be safe within you. Father, I ask you to rebuild my soul from within these walls. Let my trust grow roots in this sanctuary. Let me learn to rest not out of laziness, but out of belief that you are enough, and I do not have to fix everything. I can lay it down here. I can let go of the fear of failure, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of not being enough. I can hand over the weights that were never mine to carry. In this place, I do not prove myself, I simply receive. I imagine this refuge as a quiet chapel in my spirit, lit only by the soft flame of your presence. No words are necessary here. Just breath. Just nearness. Just the holy silence between father and child. When I sit here, time loses its grip on me. I am not defined by what is urgent. I am reminded of what is eternal. Let this hidden place not be a prison, but a launch pad. Let what is built here sustain me when I leave this quiet and enter the noise again. Let your peace be my armor, your whisper my compass, your promises my shield. I know I cannot remain hidden forever, but I can live anchored in the truth that even when I go, I carry this refuge within me. You are not only the place I retreat to, you are the presence I walk with. Father, I lift up those who do not know this refuge, those who wander endlessly, who ache silently, who fear deeply. May they stumble into this sanctuary the way I did through desperation. Through surrender, through grace, may my life become a door to that place for someone else. May they see in me not perfection but peace, not strength but rest, not answers but assurance. Let me be a quiet invitation to the fortress they did not know existed. So even now, with the day unfolding ahead of me like a page not yet written, I choose to begin it from within these walls. I choose to move not in panic but in peace, not in self-defense but in divine shelter. I will speak words rooted in stillness. I will act not from fear but from rest. I will carry this sanctuary with me not as something I must protect, but as something that protects me. And when the world presses in again, as it surely will, let me return here not in shame, but in welcome. Let me remember that every storm, every doubt, every blow, every betrayal has already been accounted for in this design of refuge. You knew I would need this. You built it not just for the strong, but for the trembling, for the ones who dare to say, I cannot do this alone. You meet that confession not with disappointment, but with open doors. You are my refuge, my fortress, my hiding place, and my hope. And even as I rise from this quiet moment to meet the noise of the world again, I do so from within the peace that cannot be stolen. I walk out, but I am not walking away. Father, in the stillness after the storm, I find myself sitting with the quiet. Not the kind of quiet that brings immediate peace, but the kind that feels uncertain, the kind that leaves me searching for a familiar voice in the hush. And it is here, Father, in this echo of silence, that I am learning something I never knew I needed: how to be held, not just by your hands, but by your presence, by your grace, and by the truth that I do not always have to be strong to be safe. I used to think refuge meant running, finding a hiding place where no one could see me breaking. But now I see being held by you is not hiding. It is the sacred unveiling of my weakness without shame. It is admitting I can hold it all together, that I was never meant to carry the weight of my fears alone. It is confessing that I do not know the next step, and resting in the mystery that you do. It is being still, not because I have mastered the art of peace, but because I am too tired to pretend anymore. And you are not disappointed in my exhaustion. So, Father, teach me what it means to let go, not just of control, but of the idea that I must earn comfort. Help me surrender the self-built armor I wear every day, the smiles that hide the cracks, the business that keeps me from feeling, the prayers that are more performance than plea. Strip away the layers until all that is left is me, unfiltered, unguarded, and uncertain, and let that be enough for you to embrace. There is something sacred in being held, something that does not fix the storm, but changes how I weather it. When I am held, I do not need every answer. I do not need every pain to vanish. I do not need to know the future. I just need to know you are near, and that your nearness is not dependent on my perfection. You do not hold only the brave or the faithful or the joyful. You hold the trembling, the doubting, the breaking. You hold me. And when I sit in your arms long enough, something strange happens. The H does not disappear, but it softens. The tears do not dry, but they stop burning. The fears do not vanish, but they stop screaming. In your holding, the weight shifts not because the burden changes, but because the burden is no longer mine alone. It becomes ours. You carry it with me. You carry me. Teach me not just to seek your holding, but to trust it. To believe that when everything falls apart, your embrace is not a last resort, it is the beginning of healing. I have run to many things looking for comfort that crumbles, voices that fade, hands that let go, words that fall short. But your holding never fades. It does not falter. It does not need to be earned. It simply waits for my surrender. I do not want to be strong all the time. I do not want to hide behind faith that does not feel. I want to come undone in the safety of your arms, to learn the sacred rhythm of breathing with you again, slowly, gently, honestly. I want to know the comfort that does not fix but feels, that does not explain but stays, that does not pressure but protects. Let me hear your heart again, not as a distant sound, but as a steady beat within me. Let your heartbeat be the drum that drowns out fear, the lullaby that calms my spirit, the rhythm that teaches me how to rest even when the world does not. Let me be held until I forget how to run, held until I remember I was made for belonging, not for battling alone, held until my identity is no longer built on how much I carry, but on who carries me. Even in the moments when I push away, when pride or fear, shame makes me resist, draw me back. Whisper through the walls I build, and remind me that you never tire of holding me. No matter how many times I forget the way back, You are not bothered by my brokenness. You are drawn to it. You meet me in it. You carry me through it. And in being held, I learn to hold others, too, not with solutions or sermons, but with presence, with stillness, with eyes that say you are not alone and arms that echo your own embrace. Teach me that healing is not always loud. Sometimes it is just sitting together in the shadows and waiting for the light to come. Sometimes it is choosing to stay when nothing makes sense. Sometimes it is one breath at a time, in the silence, in the questions, in the dark. Thank you for holding me when I did not ask, for staying when I pushed you away, for speaking gently when all I offered was silence, for lifting me even when I refused to fall. I am beginning to understand that being held is not weakness, it is the foundation of trust. And trust is not something I force. It is something I grow into, like a child learning that love does not leave when the tears come. So here I am, not because I am whole, but because I want to be, not because I am ready, but because I am willing, not because I have it figured out, because I want to know what it feels like to be carried by grace, not guilt, to be sustained by presence, not performance, to be seen in my mess and still called beloved. Hold me, Father, not just in my sorrow, but in my joy, not just in my failure, but in my striving, not just in my stillness, but in my restlessness. Hold me until my soul stops reaching for approval and starts resting in assurance. Hold me until I stop fighting to prove and start learning to receive. Hold me not just for this moment, but for the moments I forget how to return. And when I do forget, because I will call me back not with shame, but with kindness. Let your gentleness be louder than my guilt. Let your tenderness lead me home. And even if I come crawling, breathless and bruised, remind me again, this is where I belong. This is what I was made for. This is love that holds. Father, after learning what it means to be held in your arms, I realize there is something else you are gently asking of me. It is not just about resting in your embrace, but about releasing what I keep clutching so tightly. Father, you are showing me that I cannot be fully held if my hands remain closed around what wounds me. To rest in your comfort, I must let go of what hurts, and though it feels hard, I want to trust you enough to begin opening my grip. I confess that letting go is not easy for me. Pain has a way of convincing me that I am safer holding it close. It tells me that if I release it, I might forget. And forgetting feels like dishonoring my story. Or it tells me that if I keep it in sight, can control it, that somehow I can guard myself from being hurt again. But Father, I see now that holding on only keeps me tied to the very things I long to be free from. The chains may be invisible, but they are real, and they weigh me down. You never designed me to carry them. So I bring before you the hurt that has lived in me too long, the memories that replay when I least expect them, the words spoken over me that cut deeper than anyone knew, the rejections that left me questioning my worth, the disappointments that hardened my hope. I cannot erase them, but I can surrender them. I cannot change them, but I can give them into your hands. They may be too heavy for me, but they are not too heavy for you. Father, I also bring the anger I have tried to bury, the anger at others who wounded me, the anger at myself for choices I regret, and even the quiet anger I sometimes feel toward you when I do not understand why certain things happened. I do not want to pretend this anger does not exist. You already know it. You are not surprised by it. But I do not want it to shape me anymore. I do not want it to poison my spirit. I want to lay it down, raw and unedited, and trust that your love can hold even this. Teach me how to forgive not as a single act I accomplish and move on from, but as a continual decision to loosen my grip on resentment. Forgiveness does not mean what happened was right. It does not mean the pain was small. It means I choose to trust you with the justice, the healing, and the story. It means I no longer want to give yesterday the power to dictate today. It means I want to live unchained. Father, I also release the silent grief I have carried, the losses I never fully mourned, the dreams that died quietly in the background of my life. I give them to you, even if it feels like parting with pieces of myself. I trust that in letting go, I do not lose myself. I find myself again in you. You are the keeper of every tear, the redeemer of every broken hope, the restorer of what was stolen. Nothing is wasted in your hands. And now I ask for the courage to let go not only of what has hurt me, but of the ways I have hurt others, the guilt that lingers, the shame that latches on, the moments I wish I could rewrite. I cannot undo them, but I can surrender them. Father, remind me that you are greater than my failures, that your grace covers what my regret cannot, and that release is not erasing, it is redeeming. Help me to see that letting go is not weakness. It is strength. It is not denial. It is trust. It is not abandoning my story. It is entrusting it to the one who knows how to heal it. And as I let go, fill the empty spaces with your presence, where bitterness once sat. Place peace, where sorrow once lived. Plant joy, where fear once lingered. Root courage, where regret once echoed. Speak redemption. Father, I know I may have to release these things again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Letting go is not a single moment, but a daily practice. So give me grace for the process, patience for the journey, strength for the days when the pain whispers louder than hope. Keep reminding me that every time I release what hurts, I make more room for what heals. Let my life become lighter as I surrender. Let my heart become freer as I release. Let my spirit breathe deeper as I unclench my grip. And let this act of letting go not just change me, but ripple into the lives around me. May others see in me what it looks like to trust you with wounds, to surrender scars, to trade ashes for beauty. So here I am. Father, hands open, heart open, life open. I give you what I cannot carry. I release what has tried to define me. I surrender what has held me, and I choose, again and again, to let go into the safety of your love. Father, after loosening my grip and laying down what has hurt me for so long, I notice something new settling in. It is not loud. It does not rush. It does not demand. It is stillness. A quiet so deep that at first it feels unfamiliar, as if I am waiting for something to fill the space I have just emptied. Yet slowly, I begin to understand that this stillness is not a void. It is a gift. It is the gentle reminder that surrender does not end in emptiness, it ends in peace. Father, I am not used to stillness. My mind is trained to race, my heart to anticipate, my hands to reach for the next thing to fix. Even in prayer, I sometimes fill the air with words so that silence does not make me uneasy. But now, after letting go, I hear your invitation to simply rest, not to explain, not to justify, not to worry, just to sit in the calm that comes when everything heavy has been placed into your hands. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is trust in its purest form. In this stillness, I realize that surrender is not the end of the story. It is the space where you begin to work in ways I cannot see. When I stop striving, I give room for your spirit to move. When I stop clinging, I make space for your presence to heal. When I stop talking, I can finally hear your whisper. And what I hear is not condemnation, not impatience, but assurance. I am yours, and you are enough. This peace does not depend on my circumstances changing. The world outside may remain as noisy as before. Challenges may still wait for me when I rise from this prayer. But here, in the sacred stillness of surrender, I learn that my soul can be at rest even when my life is in motion. I can carry calm into chaos. I can carry silence into noise. I can carry peace into conflict. Not because I am unshaken by nature, but because I am held by you. Father, teach me to cherish this stillness, to protect it, to return to it. It is not escape, it is renewal. It is not passivity, it is preparation. It is the moment before the seed begins to grow, the pause before strength rises again, the silence where faith takes deeper root. I do not want to rush past it. I do not want to demand answers when you are giving me presence. I do not want to miss the beauty of being unhurried with you. I see now that surrender is not just about letting go of pain, but also letting go of pace. It is learning that your timing is different from mine, that rest is not wasted time, that silence is not absence, that peace is not shallow, it is the foundation that keeps me steady when storms return. In this stillness, I learn patience. I learn to breathe. I learn to believe that I do not need to force what you are already forming. Father, I bring you my restless heart, the part of me that still tries to calculate outcomes, the part that struggles to sit quietly without fear of missing something, the part that equates movement with progress. Teach me a new rhythm. Teach me that stillness is progress when it roots me deeper in you, that waiting is not delay when it draws me closer to your heart, that calm is not laziness when it flows from surrender. In this moment, I sense your nearness in ways I cannot explain. It feels like the soft light that follows a storm, the quiet hush after waves crash, the peace of night when the world finally stops spinning. It is fragile, but it is holy. And I know that this stillness is not fragile because it depends on me. It is steady because it flows from you. Let this stillness become a part of me. Let it shape how I speak, how I decide, how I move through the day. Let my words carry the weight of peace instead of panic. My choices rise from trust instead of fear. Let my steps be slower, surer, rooted not in pressure but in purpose. Let me live as someone who has learned to surrender, not only what hurts, but the need to rush ahead. Father, I thank you that you meet me here, not with urgency, but with calm. That you are not anxious about my life the way I sometimes am. That your plan does not tremble when mine falls apart. That your peace is not shaken by my storms. You remain steady, and in your steadiness I find rest. So I will stay here a little longer. I will breathe in the stillness. I will let it settle into my soul. I will trust that what feels like pause is actually preparation. That what feels like silence is actually your whisper. That what feels like stillness is actually your strength. This is the gift of surrender, the quiet after the release, the calm after the letting go, the peace after the pain. And as I rise from this moment, let me carry this stillness with me like a shield, like a song, like a secret reminder that I am never truly alone. That wherever I go, the refuge remains, the fire still burns, the healing still flows, and the stillness still holds me. Father, after sitting in the stillness that follows surrender, I begin to notice something stirring in the silence. It is not forceful. It does not demand attention. It comes softly, like the warmth of morning light creeping into a cold room. It is your grace. Father, I realize that while stillness teaches me to trust, it is grace that teaches me to live. And the more I lean into it, the more I discover its strength, not harsh or heavy, but gentle, steady, and unshakable. For so long, I misunderstood grace. I thought it was simply the erasing of mistakes, a ticket to forgiveness when I failed. But now I see that grace is far more than pardon. Grace is power. Grace is the steady current beneath my steps, holding me when I stumble, guiding me when I drift, lifting me when I fall. It does not humiliate me in my weakness. It meets me there and turns weakness into a doorway for strength. Grace does not shame me when I cannot carry on. It carries me without asking me to prove my worth. Father, I am learning that grace is not loud, and yet it is stronger than anything I have ever tried to build on my own. My determination crumbles. My self-discipline wears thin. My resolve fades with fatigue. But grace, your grace keeps flowing. It is not limited by my energy, my faithfulness, or my performance. It comes freely, generously, endlessly. It is not earned, but it is enough, always enough. In this gentle strength, I find a freedom I never knew I needed. I do not have to strive to deserve your love. I do not have to work to secure your presence. I do not have to fix myself before I come to you. Grace says, come as you are and stay as long as you need. Grace says you are loved in your failure as much as in your success. Grace says your story is not over, no matter how many times you have fallen. Grace whispers, and the chains of shame lose their power. Father, I want to live inside that whisper. I want to move through this day not driven by pressure, but carried by grace. Let it shape my words, so they are softer, kinder, more patient. Let it shape my thoughts, so they are gentler with myself and with others. Let it shape my actions, so they reflect not perfection, but compassion. Grace does not demand that I shine brighter than everyone else. Grace teaches me to shine with the light you already placed within me. I have known strength that is harsh strength that pushes, pulls, and punishes. But your grace is not like that. Your grace strengthens with tenderness. It does not bruise when it builds. It does not crush when it carries. It does not wound when it works. It is the kind of strength that restores rather than drains, that heals rather than harms, that steadies rather than shatters. This is the strength I need. This is the strength I want to learn to rely on. Father, teach me to stop resisting your grace. Sometimes I cling to guilt because it feels familiar. Sometimes I resist forgiveness because I think I should pay a price. Sometimes I fear that if I lean on grace too much, I will take it for granted. But the truth is, resisting grace does not make me stronger. It makes me weaker. Accepting grace is not abusing it. It is living in the truth of who you are. And who you are is love. Let me see the evidence of your grace in the ordinary, in the breath I take, in the sunrise that greets me, in the quiet strength that rises when I thought I was finished, in the courage to try again after failure, in the kindness of a word I did not deserve, in the peace that finds me when nothing around me changes. Grace is not rare. It is constant. It is everywhere. If only I have the eyes to notice. Father, let this grace not stop with me. Let it flow through me. Make me a vessel of the same gentle strength. Help me to extend to others what I so desperately need myself. To forgive when I would rather hold a grudge. To show patience when frustration tempts me. To give without expecting repayment. To love without requiring perfection. Let my life reflect the reality that I am not standing by my own power, but by the unearned, unstoppable strength of your grace. I know there will be moments today when I forget this, when old habits return, when pressure pushes me to perform, when shame whispers that I have not changed, but remind me again, softly, the way you always do, that grace is still here, that grace is not running out, that grace is not fragile, that grace is stronger than my weakness, steadier than my fear, deeper than my failure. So here I am again, Father, open to receive what I cannot create, open to rely on what I cannot control, open to be strengthened in ways I cannot explain. Grace is not only what saves me, it is what sustains me. And today, I choose to live held up by its gentle strength. Father, after being carried by the gentle strength of grace, I feel you leading me to a new place, a place not only of resting, but of rebuilding. Grace has torn down the walls of shame and fear, and now you invite me to rise again. But this rising is not about appearances or image. It is not about patching the surface or painting over the cracks. Father, you are teaching me that real rebuilding begins within. If the foundation is not steady, the structure will not stand. And so, you begin not from the outside in, but from the inside out. I confess that I have often tried to rebuild myself in ways that others could see. I have chased approval, achievements, and appearances. I have tried to prove my worth through effort, to look strong even when I was breaking. But that kind of rebuilding never lasts. It leaves me exhausted, hollow, and afraid that one more blow will undo it all. Father, I do not want to live in fragile strength. I want to live in strength that is rooted in you, solid and steady, unshaken by storms. Teach me to let you lay the first stone within. Father, start with my heart. Clear out what no longer belongs there: resentment, bitterness, envy, pride. Plant in its place seeds of kindness, humility, and compassion. Let love be the frame of who I am, not just something I show when convenient, but the very structure that supports my being. When people encounter me, may they not see polished walls, but an authentic spirit being renewed daily by your love. Rebuild my mind as well. Father, too often my thoughts betray me. They rush toward fear, replay failures, and whisper doubt. But you have given me a sound mind, one that is capable of dwelling in truth. Tear down the lies I have accepted as permanent. Replace them with clarity rooted in your word. Help me to think not as one defined by scars, but as one defined by promise. Let my mind be a place of peace, where hope outweighs despair and truth silences deception. Rebuild my spirit. Father, breathe strength into the places that have grown weary. Rekindle the passion that once burned for your presence. Restore the joy that trials have dimmed. Give me a spirit that is steadfast, not easily swayed by circumstance, not crushed by opposition, not distracted by noise. Let my spirit rise like a house built on rock, steady no matter what winds come against it. Father, once the inside is made new, let it begin to shape the outside. Let my words reflect the change within, not laced with cynicism or complaint, but filled with encouragement and life. Let my actions carry the fragrance of grace, patient in hardship, faithful in service, generous in love. Let my choices reveal a rebuilt identity, not one patched with fear, but one forged in faith. Let the visible fruit come naturally from invisible roots. Rebuilding takes time, and I confess that I grow impatient. I want to see progress quickly, to feel whole overnight. But you remind me that lasting structures are built carefully, brick by brick, step by step, layer upon layer. Father, give me patience for the process. Give me trust for the unseen. Give me gratitude for each small sign of growth. Even when it feels hidden, remind me that transformation is not rushed. It is refined. And when I stumble during the rebuilding, remind me that failure is not final. Remind me that even broken pieces can become part of something new when placed in your hands. What feels like rubble can become the material for redemption. What feels like collapse can become the canvas for creation. Nothing is wasted with you. Every part of my story, every triumph, every wound, every moment of surrender can be woven into the walls you are raising within me. Father, make my life a living testimony that strength does not come from perfection, but from restoration, that healing is not about erasing scars, but about building with them into something beautiful. Let me become a dwelling place for your spirit, not because I am flawless, but because I am willing. Let every corner of who I am echo your presence. Let my rebuilt heart, mind, and spirit point not to my ability, but to your faithfulness. So I open myself to your hands, the true architect of my soul. Tear down what cannot stand. Rebuild what will endure. Shape me into something new, not for my glory, but for yours. And as the work continues, let me rest in the assurance that the process itself is holy, that every nail, every stone, every step is guided by love. I am not abandoned in this construction. I am surrounded by your presence, and I will emerge stronger, freer, and more whole, rebuilt from the inside out. Father, as you rebuild me from the inside out, I recognize that even in the midst of renewal, there are moments when your presence feels distant, times when your voice seems quiet, when the heavens appear closed, and when prayers rise but answers do not seem to return. Father, I want to speak honestly about these seasons, because they are real, and they leave me feeling uncertain. I know you are near, yet there are days when your silence feels heavier than my burdens. It is in those moments that my heart trembles. I wonder if I have wandered too far, if I have failed you in ways beyond repair, if my prayers are too small or my faith too weak. The silence tempts me to doubt, to question whether my words are reaching you at all. And yet, deep down, I know that silence does not mean absence. You are not gone simply because you are quiet. Your silence is not rejection, but mystery. And though I may not understand it, I want to learn to trust it. Father, when you feel silent, teach me to remember what you have already spoken. The promises you have etched into your word do not disappear when my ears cannot hear you. Your truth does not fade simply because my emotions feel unsettled. Help me to recall the ways you have moved before, the times when your hand guided me even when I did not see it, the seasons when your faithfulness surprised me long after I thought hope was gone. Let memory become the bridge that carries me through the quiet. In your silence, I also realize that you are shaping something in me that constant answers could never form. You are teaching me endurance. You are deepening my faith. You are drawing me to seek you not for what you give, but for who you are. If every question had an immediate reply, if every cry had an instant resolution, I would never learn to wait, never learn to trust, never learn to love you simply for your presence. Father, help me to believe that silence itself can be sacred. Still, I do not deny the ache it brings. There are nights when I lie awake, wishing for even the faintest whisper. There are mornings when I wake up longing for reassurance and hear only stillness. But even then, I remind myself, the silence I feel is not the silence of abandonment. It is the silence of a God who is still working, still holding, still near, even when hidden from view, like roots growing deep beneath the soil. Your work continues even when unseen. Father, help me to see that silence can be an invitation, not an absence. An invitation to lean deeper into trust, to quiet my own noise so that I may discern your gentle nudges, to sit longer in the mystery without demanding clarity. Silence invites me to listen with more than my ears, to sense your presence with my spirit, to believe with my heart when my mind cannot comprehend. Teaches me that faith is not built only on what I can hear, but on what I choose to believe. I bring to you my impatience, my need for certainty, my craving for immediate answers. Teach me to rest even when I cannot resolve. Teach me to stay faithful even when I feel unanswered. Teach me to love you not for the clarity you give, but for the constancy of your presence, even when veiled. Father, I ask for courage to sit in silence without fear, knowing that your silence does not cancel your promises. It simply prepares me to see them in your time. When you feel silent, help me remember the cross, for even there, when darkness fell and hope seemed lost, your plan was not absent. It was unfolding. The silence of Saturday gave way to the victory of resurrection. Remind me that what feels like delay is often preparation. What feels like distance is often your nearness in ways beyond my understanding. What feels like emptiness is often the space you use to fill me with something greater. Father, let me not despise the silence, but find strength in it. Let me carry the quiet as a place of trust, a room where faith is stretched, a ground where roots grow deeper. And when your voice returns, let me hear it with greater gratitude. Let me treasure it more deeply. Let me it with greater devotion, because I have learned what it means to long for it. So here I am, Father, sitting in the tension of silence, holding on to the truth that you are still here, still working, still loving. Even when words do not come, your presence remains. Even when answers delay, your faithfulness endures. Even when I feel alone, I am not abandoned. And though silence may feel heavy, I choose to believe it can be holy, shaping me into someone who trusts you beyond what I can hear. Father, after wrestling with the silence that sometimes surrounds me, I sense you drawing my heart towards something steady, something I too easily forget. The power of remembering when silence makes me question. When waiting tempts me to doubt, it is memory that carries me through. Memory of who you have been. Memory of what you have done. Memory of the ways you have never left me. Father, help me to see that remembering is not simply recalling the past. It is reclaiming the truth that shapes my present and secures my future. I confess that my mind often forgets quickly. I remember my failures more easily than your faithfulness. I replay my regrets more vividly than your rescues. I dwell on wounds more readily than on wonders. Yet your word calls me again and again to remember the times you parted seas when there was no way forward. To remember the manna that fell when hunger threatened. To remember the water from rock, the fire by night, the whisper in the cave, the cross that spoke love louder than despair. Forgetting weakens my faith, but remembering strengthens it. Father, I think back on the personal moments when you carried me. The day I thought I would not make it, and yet I did. The door I thought was closed forever, but you opened in your timing. The wound I thought would never heal, but you touched with grace. The tears I cried alone, only to realize later that you had been there, collecting each one as treasure. Remembering these moments does not erase the struggle, but it reframes it. It reminds me that what seemed impossible before was never impossible for you. Teach me to practice remembering as a discipline, not just as an accident of thought. Let me carve out time to recount your goodness. Let me speak aloud the stories of your faithfulness, so my ears hear what my heart forgets. Let me write them down so they are not lost in the fog of fear. Let me pass them on so that others may know your hand as well. Memory is more than comfort, it is testimony. And testimony not only strengthens me, it strengthens those around me. Father, when my faith feels small, help me remember that I stand in a long line of those who have trusted you. Generations who clung to your promises without always seeing them fulfilled in their lifetime. Prophets who spoke your truth when no one listened. Disciples who followed though the road was costly. Saints who sang in prison, prayed in deserts, wept in gardens, and yet endured. Their stories are not distant, they are reminders that the same God who was faithful to them is faithful to me. Sometimes remembering feels like gathering stones, the way your people once did after crossing the Jordan. Stones carried from the middle of the river, set up as a marker so that every generation would know. The waters stopped, the people crossed, the promise was kept. Father, let me gather my own stones of remembrance. Let my life hold visible markers of your goodness. Let each answered prayer, each moment of rescue, each instance of grace become a stone that I can point to when the flood rises again. Father, I also ask that you help me remember not only the victories, but also the valleys, the nights of struggle that shaped me, the unanswered prayers that redirected me, the closed doors that protected me, the silence that deepened my roots. Memory is not only about celebrating what I wanted, but also honoring how you worked through what I did not. Even the hardest seasons become reminders, not of your absence, but of your wisdom and your steady hand guiding me towards something greater. In the moments when fear rises, help me to fight it with remembrance. When I am tempted to believe I am alone, remind me of the countless ways you have shown me I never was. When doubt clouds my vision, remind me of the times light broke through when I least expected it. When shame tries to hold me, remind me of the cross where every chain was broken. Remembering turns fear into courage, doubt into trust, despair into hope. Father, let remembering not be something I only do when I am weak, but something I carry into every season. In times of abundance, let me remember the giver. In times of sorrow, let me remember the comforter. In times of waiting, let me remember the promise keeper. In times of silence, let me remember the one who still speaks through history. Through scripture, through creation, and through the quiet testimony of my own journey. So today, I choose to remember. I remember that you are good, even when life feels bitter. I remember that you are faithful, even when my faith falters. I remember that you are near, even when I cannot feel you. I remember that your story is not finished, and neither is mine. And in this act of remembering, my soul finds strength, my heart finds peace, and my faith finds footing once again. Father, as I continue to reflect on the gift of memory, I see how remembering is not only a source of comfort, but also a weapon of strength. When I recall your faithfulness, my fears lose their grip. When I bring to mind your promises, my doubts fade. When I remind myself of your love, shame falls silent. Father, remembering is not passive, it is powerful. It turns my gaze from what overwhelms me toward the one who has carried me through every valley and lifted me on every height. And so I continue this practice, not out of obligation, but out of longing to live grounded in truth. Father, I recall how even in Scripture your people were constantly urged to remember. You told them not to forget the covenant, not to forget the miracles, not to forget the ways you delivered them. You knew how quickly hearts wander and how easily fear takes hold when memory fades. And I see the same tendency in myself. When I forget, I grow restless. When I forget, I try to control everything. When I forget, I lose sight of who I am. But when I remember, I find peace. When I remember, I return to hope. When I remember, I rest again in the reality of your presence. I think of the quiet ways you have carried me in recent days, the unexpected encouragement that came just when I was low, the provision that showed up at the last moment, the strength to endure when I thought I was at the end. These are not accidents. They are reminders. Every small mercy is an invitation to remember that your hand has never left me. Each act of kindness is a thread pulling me back to the truth that I am seen and loved. Help me to keep these reminders close so I do not drift into forgetfulness. Father, I also see that remembering changes how I look at tomorrow. When fear whispers about what lies ahead, I can look back and see the trail of your faithfulness. The same God who was with me then will be with me again. The same God who provided before will provide again. The same God who healed what was broken before will heal again. Memory becomes a map, showing me that I am not walking into uncertainty alone. I am walking into a future already marked by your presence. Teach me to turn remembering into praise, not only to quietly recall your goodness, but to speak it out loud, to declare it boldly, to let my lips tell the story of your faithfulness, so that even my ears hear it again. Praise fueled by memory has power. It shifts the atmosphere within me. It lifts my eyes above the weight of the moment. It plants seeds of courage in the soil of fear. Praise rooted in remembering is not shallow, it is deep, because it draws from wells already dug in the past. Father, I do not want to remember selectively. It is easy to recall blessings, but harder to recall trials with gratitude. Yet even the trials carry treasures when I look closely. They remind me of your strength when I was weak, your comfort when I was grieving, your wisdom when I was lost. They remind me that suffering was not the end of the story. They remind me that even in darkness, light was preparing to break through. Help me to remember with honesty, to see both pain and promise, so that memory becomes a fuller picture of your hand at work. I also want to remember on behalf of others, to carry their testimonies as my own encouragement, to recall how you answered prayers for those I love, how you redeemed stories that seemed hopeless, how you surprised with joy where despair once reigned. Their memories strengthen me too, reminding me that your faithfulness is not limited to me, but stretches across all who call on your name. Together, our stories weave a tapestry of grace too vast to deny. Father, Let remembering not only shape my heart, but also shape my actions. When I remember your generosity, help me to be generous. When I remember your forgiveness, help me to forgive. When I remember your patience, help me to extend patience. When I remember your love, help me to love. Memory is not just reflection. It is transformation. It calls me to live differently because I have seen your hand and cannot remain unchanged. And when my memory falters, when weariness clouds my recall, let your spirit remind me again. Whisper to me the words I need to remember. Bring to mind the moments I too easily overlook. Guide me back to the truth when lies try to take root. Let memory be more than my effort. Let it be a work of your spirit, keeping me close to your heart. So here I stand. Father, in the strength of remembering, I carry with me the testimony of your goodness, the evidence of your faithfulness, the proof of your love written across the pages of my life. And with each memory, I grow stronger. With each remembrance, I find courage. With each recollection, I rise again, confident that the God who was, and is, and will always be, remains unchanging, unfailing, and ever near. Father, as I continue to walk in the strength that comes from remembering, I sense you gently guiding me back to something I must keep practicing again and again, letting go of what hurts. Father, this lesson is not learned once and finished. Pain has a way of creeping back, whispering for attention, asking to be carried again. And so I realize that release is not a single act, but a rhythm of trust, a daily surrender, a repeated choice to hand over what was never meant for me to hold. Today I choose again to let go. Father, I admit how tempting it is to pick up what I once laid down. Memories resurface without warning. Old wounds ache as if fresh. A word, a glance, a reminder pulls me back into the weight I thought had released. It is in those moments I feel weak, wondering if I truly let go the first time. But you remind me that freedom is not measured by never feeling pain again, and it is measured by choosing not to let the pain define me. Each time I lay it back at your feet, I am learning that release is an ongoing act of faith. So once more, Father, I bring you the hurt I have carried too long, the wounds from others' words that pierced deeper than they knew, the betrayals that shook my trust, the disappointments that left me questioning your plan, the guilt that weighs heavier than it should. These are not small burdens, but neither are they beyond your strength. I cannot erase them, but I can release them. I cannot change them, but I can surrender them. What is impossible for me is possible for you. Father, teach me to release not only the pain of the past, but the fear of the future. I carry anxieties about what might happen, how I might be hurt again, how failure might return. This fear binds me as tightly as regret. Letting go is not only about what was, but also about what could be. Help me to trust that my future rests in hands stronger than mine. If I can release yesterday to you, I can release tomorrow as well. Both are safe when surrendered to your love. I also bring to you the anger that still flares when I least expect it. Anger at those who wounded me. Anger at myself for missteps and missed chances. Anger that tempts me to hold grudges like weapons. But Father, I do not want to live with clenched fists. I want to open my hands, even if trembling, to let forgiveness flow where bitterness once lived. Forgiveness does not excuse what was wrong, but it releases me from its hold. It sets me free to live lighter, to live whole, to live in peace. Father, I know letting go is not about forgetting. It is about entrusting. It is about placing every scar into your hands and believing that you can weave beauty even from pain. I may not see how, but I trust that nothing is wasted. The very things that once wounded me can become places of healing, not just for myself, but for others. My testimony may grow from the very soil of my sorrow. My strength may rise from the very ashes of my struggle. If I keep clinging, I stay chained. If I release, I become free enough to be used by you. In letting go again, I ask for courage. Father, courage to release control when I want to hold on. Courage to walk away from bitterness when it feels safer to cling to it. Courage to forgive when it feels impossible. Courage to believe that your hands are more capable than mine. Courage to trust that your justice, your healing, and your timing are better than my attempts to manage my wounds. Father, help me to see that letting go is not weakness, is strength clothed in humility. It is not denial, it is trust. It is not ignoring pain. It is giving it to the only one who can redeem it. Letting go does not mean I no longer care. It means I choose not to carry what crushes me. It means I choose to breathe again, to live again, to hope again. Because your love makes space for healing where hurt once lingered. I know I may need to do this again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, and each time I do, may it become easier to unclench my grip each time I do. May the chains grow looser each time I do. May my heart grow lighter until one day I look back and realize the weight has been lifted completely, not because I was strong enough, but because I trusted you enough to keep surrendering. So here I am again. Father, with open hands, I release what has wounded me. I release what I cannot control. I release what has defined me for too long. I release what I was never meant to hold. And as I let go once more, I believe that you are faithful to hold what I cannot, to heal what I cannot, to redeem what I cannot. In this letting go, I find life again. Father, once more I come with open hands, because even after releasing what weighs on me, I find that pain sometimes lingers in hidden corners of my soul. Letting go is not a single doorway I walk through once, but a path I must return to again. Father, I see now that your call is not only to release what wounds me, but also to learn how to live free on the other side of release. Let this be the deeper work you do in me today, the work of teaching my heart how to stay unburdened. Father, I realize how easily I return to old patterns. A memory surfaces, and suddenly I feel chained again. A face or a word brings back the weight I thought I laid down. And in that moment, it feels safer to clutch the hurt than to open myself to trust. But you remind me that true freedom is not just setting something down, but choosing not to pick it up again. To keep my hands open requires courage. To keep my heart unguarded requires faith. To keep walking forward requires trust that your love can hold me stronger than my pain. So I bring before you not just the wounds themselves, but the habits that tie me back to them. My tendency to replay what went wrong, my urge to explain what cannot be explained, my desire to justify my pain instead of release it. These are the chains I need your help to break. Because real letting go is not only about what I surrender, it is also about what I stop feeding. Help me, Father, to starve bitterness of its power, to stop rehearsing rejection, to cease giving fear the first word in my thoughts. Father, I also see that letting go means making space for something new. When my heart is crowded with resentment, there is no room for peace. When my hands cling to old wounds, there is no room to receive your blessings. When my mind dwells on past pain, there is no space for fresh vision. Teach me not only to release, but to replace. Replace anger with compassion, fear with courage, sorrow with joy, shame with grace. Fill the emptiness that comes with release, so that I am not tempted to return to what I once surrendered. Help me to forgive in deeper ways, not only forgiving people for what they did, but also forgiving myself for holding on so long. Forgiving the younger version of me, who did not know how to cope. Forgiving the choices I regret but cannot undo. Forgiveness is a form of letting go too. It is the loosening of my grip on self-condemnation. It is the acceptance that grace covers not only what others did to me, but also what I have done to myself. Father, let forgiveness run so deep that it transforms not only my past, but also my future. Father, I ask for wisdom in setting boundaries as part of this release. Letting go does not mean returning to what hurt me, nor pretending that broken trust is instantly restored. Teach me to release with wisdom, to love with discernment, to walk in freedom without stepping back into chains. Let me carry compassion without carrying poison. Let me extend kindness without surrendering safety. Let me practice release in a way that protects the healing you are working within me. I confess that sometimes I equate letting go with losing something of myself, as if the pain has become part of my identity. But you remind me that I am not my wounds. I am not my failures. I am not my disappointments. I am your child, defined not by scars but by love. Letting go is not erasing who I am, it is uncovering who I was always meant to be. It is peeling away the weight of sorrow to reveal the image of your grace underneath. Father, help me to see myself through your eyes as I keep releasing. As I continue this practice, Father, let me become an example of freedom for others. Let my life whisper to those still bound that release is possible. Let my words encourage those still heavy that healing is near. Let my story testify that no wound is too deep, no memory too strong, no burden too heavy for your hands. The more I let go, the more I am able to lift others. The more I release, the more space I have to embrace the hurting with your compassion. Freedom multiplies when shared. And so, Father, today I open my hands once more. I place every wound, every memory, every fear into your care. I choose not only to release what hurts, but also to live in the lightness that comes after release. Teach me to rise each morning with unclenched fists, with a heart ready for peace, with a spirit free to love. Let this ongoing act of surrender become the rhythm of my life, so that hurt no longer defines me, but healing does. And in this freedom, Let me discover the fullness of who you created me to be. Father, after learning to let go of what hurts and choosing to live in freedom, I feel you inviting me to take the next step, not just releasing the past, but walking in the newness of life that freedom brings. Father, freedom is not only about absence, it is about presence. It is not simply the removal of chains, but the discovery of open fields, where I can walk with you unhindered. Today, I want to step into that newness with a heart that is open, unburdened, and ready to be led. Father, I see how easy it is to slip back into old patterns, even after release. The enemy tempts me to believe that freedom is temporary, that one misstep will return me to bondage. But you remind me that freedom is not fragile when it is grounded in you. It is steady, secure, and anchored in your love. You did not free me so I could live in fear of falling again. You freed me so I could live boldly in the light of your grace. Help me to walk in that assurance as I rise each morning. Father, let freedom shape my perspective. Where I once looked at life through the lens of fear, let me now see it through hope. Where I once measured myself by wounds, let me now measure myself by your love. Where I once carried shame, let me now carry joy. Freedom is not about pretending the past did not happen. It is about living with the truth that the past no longer holds me captive. Every step I take in freedom is a testimony of your power to transform. Father, walking in freedom also means living with a renewed identity. I am no longer defined by mistakes. I am no longer labeled by pain. I am no longer held by chains. I am your child, chosen and beloved. My worth is not in what I do or fail to do, but in who you are and what you have done for me. Remind me of this truth when I am tempted to slip back into self-doubt. Anchor me in the unshakable identity of being yours. Teach me also, Father, that walking in freedom is not just about my own life. It is about becoming a light for others who are still in darkness. Freedom is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be shared. Help me to extend grace to those who are bound, patience to those who are struggling, hope to those who are weary. Let my steps carry encouragement. Let my words carry life. Let my presence reflect the reality of your Spirit at work in me. True freedom is multiplied when it lifts others along the way. Father, I also ask for courage to explore the possibilities that freedom opens. For so long, fear kept me small, pain kept me hidden, shame kept me silent. But now, with these weights released, I want to live with holy boldness, to dream again, to risk again, to love again without fear of rejection, to serve again without worrying about being overlooked, to speak again without trembling under the weight of insecurity. Freedom is not passive, it is active. It calls me into new territories I once avoided, into new opportunities I once doubted, into new relationships I once feared. Guide my steps into this newness with courage and trust. In this newness, Father, I ask for wisdom. Freedom does not mean recklessness. It does not mean living without boundaries. It means choosing wisely, guided by your Spirit, walking in paths that bring life. Teach me to discern between what draws me closer to you and what tempts me back toward bondage. Give me eyes to see clearly, ears to hear your guidance, and a heart that delights in obedience. Wisdom is the companion of freedom, and with it, my steps remain steady. Father, I am learning that freedom is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of strength. I may still face trials. I may still feel temptation. I may still hear whispers of fear. But now I face them differently, not as one chained, but as one free. Struggles do not define me. Temptations do not own me. Fear does not imprison me. Your spirit within me gives me the strength to keep walking. Even when the path is steep, freedom is not fragile. It is fortified by your grace. And so, Father, today I choose to walk in the newness of freedom. I choose to step into the day with courage, with joy, with hope. I choose to live as one who has been set free, not by my own strength, but by your love. I choose to let every step, every word, every action reflect the reality that chains have been broken, burdens have been lifted, and life has been renewed. And as I walk, let me never forget that freedom is not just a gift, it is a calling to live fully, love deeply, and shine brightly in the world you created. Dear Heavenly Father, as I continue to walk in the newness of freedom, I realize that this path is not a short sprint, but a lifelong journey. Father, freedom is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new way of living, and while my heart is filled with gratitude for the release you have given me, I know I need strength to keep going. Freedom brings joy, but it also brings responsibility. It opens wide the horizon, but the road ahead can feel long, and at times, weariness whispers. Today, I come to you asking for the strength to remain faithful in the journey. Father, I know how easily enthusiasm fades. A breakthrough can make me soar, but when routine returns, I sometimes slip back into old patterns. The first steps of freedom feel light, but the climb of endurance tests me. I confess that I often long for quick results, for instant transformation, for easy paths. Yet you remind me that growth is slow, that character is formed in the process, that endurance is a gift I can only gain through the passage of time. Teach me to value the steady steps as much as the soaring leaps. I bring to you the tiredness I sometimes feel. Father, the mornings when my spirit feels heavy before the day has even begun. The moments when I wonder if I can keep moving forward with hope. The nights when doubts circle back. In those times, remind me that your strength is made perfect in weakness. I do not have to be strong on my own. I do not have to carry the journey by my own power. I only need to stay close to you, trusting that step by step, your spirit renews me. Father, I ask for strength not just for myself, but for the way I walk with others. On this journey, I am not alone, and you have called me to be a companion to those who are weary too. Give me the compassion to notice those who are stumbling, the patience to walk at their pace, the courage to lift them when they fall. Let my strength not be hoarded, but shared. True strength is not about outpacing others, but about bringing them along. Teach me to journey as one who builds, not one who competes. Father, I see that this journey is not only about endurance, but about direction. Strength without guidance can lead me astray. I need your wisdom as much as your power. Show me where to place my steps. Keep me from detours that distract, from shortcuts that deceive, from paths that lead me back into bondage. Help me to remember that staying on the narrow way may be harder, but it leads to life. Let every step be guided by your spirit, rooted in trust, shaped by faith. I also ask for joy to be my strength. Father, too often, I think of strength as grit, as sheer determination, as the ability to push through. But your word reminds me that joy is also strength. Joy lifts me when burdens weigh heavy. Joy steadies me when trials press close. Joy turns endurance into worship. Let me find joy not only in victories, but in the simple act of walking with you. In every sunrise, every answered prayer, every moment of peace, let joy rise as fuel for the journey. Father, I confess that I sometimes fear the unknown ahead. What trials may come, what losses may arise, what battles may unfold. I want the strength to face them not with dread, but with confidence that you will be with me. The strength to remember that the same God who has carried me this far will not leave me midway. The strength to keep my eyes fixed on you when distractions call. The strength to keep trusting when answers delay. The strength to keep loving when it feels costly. The strength to keep walking, no matter how steep the climb. Father, let me remember that strength is not always loud. It is not always visible. Sometimes strength is simply the quiet choice to rise each morning and keep going. Sometimes it is the whispered prayer in the middle of the night. Sometimes it is the decision to forgive again, to trust again, to hope again. Teach me to value the quiet strength that does not boast, the strength that comes not from me but from your Spirit alive within me. That is the strength that endures. So today, Father, ask for the strength for the ongoing journey, the strength to keep walking when the road stretches long, the strength to keep believing when silence lingers, the strength to keep rejoicing when burdens weigh heavy, the strength to keep loving when it feels costly, the strength to keep surrendering when my grip grows tight. Let this strength flow not from my effort, but from your grace. And as I journey forward, may each step testify that I am not carried by my own power, but by the unshakable strength of the one who walks beside me. Father, after asking you for strength to endure the ongoing journey, I hear your gentle reminder once again. The strength I need so often comes from remembering. Father, you know how fragile my heart can be, how quickly I grow weary, how easily fear creeps in. And you also know the medicine my soul requires, the power of memory, to look back with eyes of faith, to recall the ways you have carried me, to remember what my heart forgets when the road feels long. Father, I see that remembering is not only about the past. It is a lifeline for the present and a compass for the future. Father, I confess that when I forget your works, I stumble more quickly. I chase comfort in temporary places. I let despair speak louder than truth. I let discouragement write my story. But when I stop and remember, when I rehearse your faithfulness, everything changes. The storm may still rage, but I see the rainbow you have placed beyond it. The valley may still stretch before me, but I recall the mountaintop you once carried me to. The silence may still linger, but I remember that you have spoken before and you will speak again. Remembering is not escape, it is anchoring. I think of the milestones you have etched across my life. Father, the answered prayers that came in unexpected ways, the healing that flowed when I least anticipated it, the provision that arrived in the very moment of need, the friendships that entered my path as gifts of grace. These moments are not accidents. They are evidence. They are reminders that I am seen, loved, and guided by your hand. Help me to carry these memories not as fleeting thoughts, but as treasures, as stones of remembrance I can return to whenever doubt arises. Father, remembering also deepens my gratitude. When I recall your faithfulness, my heart cannot remain silent. Gratitude grows in the soil of memory. It reminds me that I did not make it here by my own strength. It humbles me to see how much of my story is marked by your mercy. Gratitude born from remembering lifts my eyes from what I lack to what you have already given. It teaches me that every breath, every sunrise, every act of kindness is a testimony to your goodness. But remembering is not only about recalling the pleasant moments. It is also about seeing your hand even in the hard places. Father, I remember the valleys I thought I would never walk through, and yet here I stand. I remember the tears that seemed endless, yet somehow joy returned in the morning. I remember the doors that closed painfully, only to lead me to paths I never expected. Even in the brokenness, you were present. Even in the silence, you were working. Even in the loss, you were writing a larger story. These memories give me courage to face new valleys, knowing you will never abandon me. Father, let remembering also guard me against pride. When victories come, when blessings flow, when doors open wide, it is tempting to believe I earned them, but memory humbles me. It reminds me of the moments when I was weak and you were strong, when I was lost and you found me, when I was empty and you filled me. Remembering roots me in truth. Every good gift is from you. Pride fades when memory speaks, because memory testifies that I am not the source of my own strength, you are. I also ask, Father, that my remembering would not stop with me. Let me share these stories with others so that their faith might grow. Let me pass on testimonies of your goodness to the next generation. Let me speak of your faithfulness to those who doubt, of your mercy to those who despair, of your love to those who feel forgotten. Testimony multiplies when it is told, and remembering becomes a legacy when it is shared. Let my life echo the refrain. He was faithful then, he is faithful now. He will be faithful always. Father, in times when memory feels dim, when discouragement clouds my vision, I ask for your Spirit to bring to mind what I need to recall. Whisper back to me the promises I have forgotten. Stir up in me the stories I have neglected. Shine light on the moments I overlooked. Let memory itself be a work of grace, a divine reminder that I am never without evidence of your love, even when I feel blind. Let your Spirit remind me that I have seen before, and I will see again. So today, Father, I choose once more to remember that your goodness has marked my past, to remember that your presence surrounds my present, to remember that your promises secure my future. Memory is not simply nostalgia, it is power. It is the weapon against despair, the anchor against drifting, the song that rises in silence. And as I remember, I find my faith renewed, my hope restored, and my courage strengthened to keep walking in the journey ahead. Father, as I come to this final chapter of my morning prayers, I carry with me the weight and wonder of every word spoken before. Each chapter has been a step, each prayer a breath, each surrender a seed planted in the soil of your presence. Father, this journey has not been about perfection, but about honesty. It has not been about reaching an end, but about learning to walk with you day by day. And now, as I stand at this moment, I feel both the tenderness of closure and the openness of beginning again. Father, I look back on the path we have traveled together through these prayers. I remember the mornings of brokenness when I could hardly lift my head. I remember the confessions that poured out like rivers, the longings I could not put into words, the silences that spoke louder than sentences. I remember the lessons of letting go, of being held, of walking in freedom, of remembering your goodness. These were not just chapters, they were encounters. And though my words have reached their final page, my heart knows the journey is still unfolding. I confess, Father, that I often fear endings. Endings remind me of loss, of things slipping beyond my reach, of silence after song. Yet you remind me that in you, every ending is only a doorway into something new. What feels like a final note is simply the beginning of a new melody. What feels like sunset is also the promise of dawn. So even as I close this prayer, I do not close my heart. I keep it open, ready to hear, ready to walk, ready to trust again tomorrow. Father, I feel gratitude rising within me, gratitude for your patience when my words faltered, for your nearness when I felt alone, for your mercy that carried me when I stumbled. Gratitude for the way you turned pain into prayer, sorrow into song, weakness into witness. These words I have spoken are not just mine. They belong to you, shaped by your spirit, breathed into being by your love. And so I thank you for every line, every pause, every tear that watered these prayers along the way. Yet I know, Father, that prayer is not meant to remain on a page or within a moment. It is meant to live in me, to shape how I speak, how I choose, how I love. Let the rhythm of these words echo in my days. Let the lessons of surrender, forgiveness, trust, and hope take root in how I live. Let every morning remind me that prayer is not a performance, but a conversation, not an obligation, but a gift, not an ending, but a lifeline to you. Teach me to keep praying not only with words, but with the way I walk through life. Father, I lift up those who have journeyed with me through these prayers. Each listener, each heart, each soul who opened themselves to these words. I ask you to bless them, to meet them in the exact places of their need, to show them that they are not alone. Let their burdens feel lighter, their hope stronger, their faith deeper, because they chose to walk this road of prayer. May they know that their tears matter to you, their questions matter to you, their stories matter to you, May they leave this moment with a deeper awareness of your love. Father, I ask that these prayers would ripple beyond this moment, that they would stir courage in weary hearts, that they would awaken longing in souls that have grown numb, that they would plant seeds of faith that will grow quietly, steadily, into trees of trust. And I ask that even long after the final words are spoken, your Spirit would continue to whisper, to guide, to comfort, to heal, because the true power of prayer is not in my voice, but in your presence. So here at the end, I pause. I breathe in the stillness. I let gratitude settle. I let hope rise. I do not tie a bow on this moment or mark it as complete. Instead, I release it into your hands, trusting that the story continues. My prayers have been words on a journey, but your Spirit writes the deeper chapters, in ways I cannot yet see, in places I cannot yet imagine. And to you, dear friend who has walked with me through this entire prayer, thank you. Thank you for opening your heart, for listening, for daring to step into these sacred spaces. Thank you for trusting this journey enough to stay. You are not alone, and you never will be, as you carry these words into your own mornings. May you find strength in remembering, peace in surrender, courage in silence, and joy in freedom. May your prayers become your daily breath, your anchor, your song. I invite you to share your own prayers, your own reflections, your own journey. Let these words not just be mine, but ours, a chorus of voices rising together in faith. Leave your heartprints here, so that others may be encouraged by your story. And if these prayers have spoken to you, I ask you to continue this journey with us. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, and join us in building a community of faith that carries one another. Let us keep walking, keep believing, keep praying day by day. And as we close this chapter, I leave you with this image: the gentle light of dawn breaking through the horizon, a soft breeze stirring the air, and the quiet sound of living water flowing endlessly. It is a reminder that though words end, the presence of God continues, steady as the sunrise, tender as the wind, constant as the river that never ceases to flow.